You've seen the Instagram posts and the YouTube videos, the tropical beaches, the cheap rent, and the so-called freedom of living abroad. But what you don't always see is the struggle behind the scenes. Moving to another country as a younger expat can be an incredible adventure, but it's not always that sunshine, coconut water, and rainbows that's usually depicted. Unlike retirees with pensions or Social Security, most younger expats face real financial and emotional challenges that can make or break their experience. I quit my executive level position as a utility director and moved abroad to Panama at age 46 for a year sabbatical that's almost lasted 3 years. And I learned a lot by doing so. So in this video, I'm exposing the dark side of being a younger expat. So if you're thinking about making this move, stay tuned. I was watching a video by one of my friends here, and it inspired me to make one for younger expats because some of the realities of the younger expat life abroad isn't really discussed as much as it is for retirees. I think for the most part, one of the biggest differences between younger and older expats is financial security. Many retirees have a steady income from pensions, investments, or Social Security, but the majority of younger expats, not so much. If you don't have stable remote work, stable passive income, or serious savings, making a life abroad can be unpredictable and difficult. I see many questions in expat and travel groups asking what type of work can people do in said country, or how do I find remote work? While these are great questions, I feel like it shows the financial vulnerability that younger expats might encounter. A lot of companies are returning back to the office, stopping the option to work from home, so you have to be careful with certain types of remote work you require. You don't want to be caught up in the return to office directives, especially if you spent your time and money on obtaining a residency in another country. Another mistake that I see a lot of younger expats make is that they assume their skills are transferable to their desired country. As an example, I'm a civil engineer. I cannot work in Panama as an engineer because it's a protected profession just for Panamanians. So if I want to work as an engineer here, I have to find a foreign consulting firm that has a project in Panama and work for them. And even some of those contracts have language fluency stipulations in them. Now, if you're lucky enough to find work in a country that you live in or want to move to, are the wages what you're used to? What you might get paid in Panama is not even close to what you'd be paid in the USA. Financial instability is a major reason why younger expats end up going back home. Leaving mid-career to live abroad sounds exciting, but what happens when you realize your professional identity was tied to your job? For many, a career isn't just about money, it's about purpose, stability, and social status. If you've spent years climbing the corporate ladder, stepping away from that can leave you questioning, who am I without my job? I know I experienced this. It's different when you're planning for retirement. But when you leave mid-career and abruptly, like so many of us are doing now, it can have you questioning a lot of things. One of the questions might be, why didn't I do this sooner? Tee. So what does leaving mid-career look like? Taking a career break might lead to gaps on your resume. Some skills don't transfer internationally, making it harder to find work. Reinventing yourself in a new country can also be overwhelming and time-consuming. Building a new business may be harder abroad with laws, regulations, and even corruption that you may not be used to. Do you have the financial stability to wait for your new business to grow? Back home, life might follow a certain script. Go to school, get a good job, marry, buy a house, save for retirement. But when you move abroad, that script might fall apart. Many countries have lower wages, making the potential of wealth building harder. You might struggle with what's next, especially when your peers back home are following more of a predictable path. If you're someone who thrives on structure, the freedom of expat life can feel more like floating aimlessly as opposed to flying with direction. Integrating into a new country isn't just about learning the language, it's about understanding the culture, the unspoken rules, and how to actually belong. Some locals may see you as an outsider no matter how long you stay. Language barriers can make it hard to form deep friendships or professional connections. Even in expat communities, people come and go, making some friendships feel temporary. If you're in a majority or retired circle, what does that mean for your social life? And if you're single, dating can even be more complicated. Dating abroad isn't always the romantic fairy tales made out to be. In many countries, the income disparities can create an imbalance in relationships, especially for women. This can go back to those societal norms we touched on earlier. You can be seen as rich in your new country and taken advantage of. Some have it in the back of their heads that they might be seen as a meal ticket or a green card. Insert any season of the show 90 Day Fiancé for reference. Language barriers make it harder to build real connections unless you are open to being creative with learning language and having patience. If you're looking for a long-term partner, expat life may not be the ideal scene, especially if you're in a country where relationships move at a different pace that you're used to. From what I've seen thus far, at least in Panama, the men have an easier time finding partners than the women have. Again, this is just from what I've seen. When you move abroad, you're not just gaining a new life, you're potentially also losing pieces of your old one. Your friendships back home may fade as your lifestyles diverge. Not all of them, but some might. It isn't just because you've moved, it's because you might change once you live abroad. You might see life differently, have less in common now, or the conversations you used to have just don't seem relevant anymore, or can be triggering. Visiting family might be more expensive, and staying connected requires more effort from both parties. I remember I once had a family member tell me that they don't use WhatsApp. So what that let me know right there was they didn't want to be flexible, or our communication had to be on their terms. Living abroad can feel freeing, but it also comes with the reality that you may be missing out on more major life moments back home. It's the fear of missing out. Another topic is a hard one, and that is one of aging parents. I know for me, I postponed my move due to my mother's health. I had my permanent residency a year before I moved abroad, and after my mom passed away, I ended up moving 6 months after her death. But if your parents are aging, you may face the hard choice of returning home to care for them if no one else can or will step up to the plate to do so. You may not be able to give them the care that they need in your new country, or if your new country has better care than the USA, or wherever you're from, your parent may not want to move there. These are really hard decisions that have to be made, and only you know what's best for your situation and your mental and emotional health. Unlike retirees who often easily qualify for permanent residency visas, younger expats don't always have the same visa options. Work visas can be hard to get and even harder to renew. Changing immigration policies may force you to have to leave. If your visa depends on employment, losing your job could mean losing your ability to stay abroad. Living in a country where your future depends on shifting immigration laws can be incredibly stressful and unnerving. The planner in me would be stressed. Living abroad can feel like a dream, but for younger expats, long-term stability is a real concern. Moving frequently makes it harder to plan for retirement, home ownership, if that's your thing, or even planning for basic long-term goals. Not every country has strong safety nets, which can be risky if you need financial or medical support. The reality of expat life often doesn't match the dream, especially if you struggle to find steady income, community, or a sense of purpose. When you're younger, you don't always prioritize things like medical care. But let me tell you, expat healthcare can be complicated. The public healthcare system, while more affordable than what you're used to, depending on the country, it may not be on par with what you're used to. It may not be on par with the type of care that you're used to. So if you don't have a lot of money to put aside for medical emergencies or carry a high limit on a credit card, you might be dealing with an underfunded facility that's overcrowded, outdated, or lacking necessary medical supplies and medications. Or, since public health care is usually free or low cost, demand can be high, leading to long wait times for appointments, procedures, and emergency care. This is something that most younger expats don't always plan for, but trust me, you need to think about it. Because if something happens, you don't want to be caught off guard or further complicate a health issue. Now, I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, and I'm not saying that being a younger expat isn't worth it, but you just need to be prepared. Social media might make it look easy, but the reality is far more complicated, and you'll have to be aware of what you're walking into. Have a plan A, B, C, and D. What works for the first few months or years may not work for the rest. You have to be able to pivot. If you're thinking about moving abroad, ask yourself, do I have a financial safety net? Am I okay with career uncertainty? Can I handle emotional ups and downs while abroad? Let me know in the comments if you're considering moving abroad. Or if you already do, have you faced any of these struggles as a younger expat? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Until the next one, the world is yours. You just have to find your place in it.